Precious metals crashing here today. Is that spelling danger for the stock market? We'll get into that as well as everything else we need to cover. It is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. If you guys like the video, maybe give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Let's get into it here. So no video yesterday. We had a trend. I've been a little busy here outside of work personally, so just did not have some time to really get it done yesterday, but I did throw that chart out there for you guys. And we are right onto that trend line here on the ES. So we're still sitting on that and, basically a flat day. The market held up pretty well for the most part. I actually expected an inside day yesterday, a little boring day yesterday, and then maybe an uptick today. So kind of like reversed rolls here to an extent. But we're right into the trend line there. We have Netflix earnings after the bell. I don't expect that to move the tape very much. Could it move the uptick or downtick the NQ? Of course, but it's smaller than Broadcom, and Broadcom's earnings didn't even move NQ. In fact, the NQ closed red on the 5th of September. So I wouldn't make too much out of it. I think we have TXN though too, and that could bump the semis one way or the other. So right now the big story is gold. It was down 6% at one point, which is huge for gold. That's a gigantic move. And pretty good dump. I mean, like in GLD, pretty much, if you caught the morning video, I did call out 375. But before that, it wiped out every other dealer level there was, including an SLV too. I actually got stopped out on this. And how it goes. My take profit was at 45.40. The high of the day was 45.38, so that's just one of those. It's the way it goes, basically. But so then, getting stopped out there kind of sucked, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, just kind of like washing out here. It's SLV down almost 9%. Silver futures down 7.38. There is a little bit of a difference there with the futures and the SLV, which kind of goes more off a spot, but nonetheless, pretty good sell. 46, you can see those little old day trading lines I have there, but, pivots. We get down there tomorrow, I'd be interested in maybe a bounce again. Same thing with gold, but I want to see that, I want to see the 4-hour, like RSI, I want to see that buried. It's not buried enough. Silver, it's touching oversold, but I want to see it buried, right? Like we're going back to July here. By the way, it's oversold for the first time since August. But nonetheless, it's a pretty nasty reversal. And if you'll recall, at least I know I said this to members. I don't know if I said this on here, but I said after that sell, I said, look for a good retrace Friday, and we got that, and then boom. So that ended up being a bull trap. But will that spill over into equities? Well, we'll see. We have a new VIX contract tomorrow, so that could open up a little bit of volatility, but you're going to need a catalyst one way or the other. But the dollar moving up, could help with that. I haven't seen any of the repo stuff like actually fixed at this point. We have seen a bounce in regional banks, but it's still inside bar, right? And the one that nobody seems to care about is Blackstone, and this one does not look all that strong here. So, and this is a big, huge company. So there's private equity issues, but yeah, bottom line, bears got to like actually do it here soon, right? Time is of the essence. As it always is. Time is more important than price, but yeah, it's certainly there, and I definitely have we should get some sort of a move tomorrow. I think that we can trend. So just based on there's a just proprietary time system here that I'm looking at. Tomorrow should be a good date for that, especially given that we have a tight range today. That's usually good for expansion, specifically on the way that this one is set up. But we're right into the trend line, and I know it looks good. We're really close to all-time highs. What to say we don't back off though and go back and test the lows? It's certainly possible, especially if you get actual problems in repo and you're not in ignorantly positive gamma because we're structured products are keeping us pinned for OPEX, which will just continue over and over, and it'll get worse. But nonetheless, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. At any rate, on the upside, if we don't get any sort of downside volatility here, I don't think you need the FOMO here. And I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I mean, look at actually, let's go back to the futures. I just think it's cleaner. But I mean, just look at the RSI here. And again, I never worship RSI, but I mean, we're at 57 on ES, It just doesn't look like a good place to break out from to me. Like it's just not a strong position. And even on NQ, a 58, 59, it's just not strong. So even if we pop through it, I mean, maybe it's like a situation like that, and then we dip again. You know, like I said, once you break momentum, right, we wiped out like almost a month in one day. It does take time. You know, it takes a lot of structure to get through that. And, you know, that could be something like this. And then it does that and then, pops back up and then it flags. You know, that's certainly I've seen that happen before. You know, where have I seen that happen before? Oh, right there, right? So, I mean, like it's certainly not unheard of. But we'll see if we back off tomorrow. There's certainly the setup for it. You do have possible upside catalysts too. Government shutdown looks to be coming to an end soon. You know, then again, that's also a downside thing. Like maybe they want to make them hurry up, right? I know a really good way to do that, right? If you want to hear it, I'm sure you can figure it out. And then the same thing with the Fed too. The Fed is next week. You want them to cut? You want them to cut 50 basis points? Well, if we're at all-time highs, they're not going to do that. And if Micron and all these other, stocks are at all-time highs, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, we'll see what happens there, I guess. So that's really that's it. You see cash S&P sitting there, Q sitting just above 610. IWM down $1.29. This one's still on the weaker side, and the Dow did make new all-time highs. We had some of these, blue chips. Look at 3M there, big move. GE came off the highs, but GM, look at that, 15%. So a big move there for Ford and GM. So those stocks helping out the Dow a little bit there. SMH down 0.5% here. IGV was pretty strong today, and it wasn't Palantir. Palantir is actually down, and Microsoft is actually flat. So it was more so Salesforce and CrowdStrike, a few others, I think. ServiceNow up here, net up a little bit. Transport's had a good bid today too, back inside of the range. We'll see if they can follow through. They've done multiple fake outs on this, so we'll see which way it goes. Interest rates were down again. ZT positive, CN and ZB were up as well. TLT 92 is resistance right now. So those moving up with gold down. We'll see if it backs off tomorrow. That's what they've got. But they've got 92 priced in for this week. So XHB had a really good day. So really strong. It ended up holding the 200. We talked about that. We talked about the convergence of those moving averages on the weekly, and it rebounded nicely. IYR as well. It was up earlier. It's flat, but again, nice weekly, and it was up yesterday too. So I don't love how it failed there, but it held the trend line. So you got to go with that. And then XLF again rebounding, still below the red bar. KRE still below the red bar. Just for what it's worth, PEX, private equity ETF. It doesn't have a huge AUM, but it's just the biggest one we got. Still below the 20, but it has a higher low. So let's see. Broker dealers here down today, but nothing terrible. Oil caught a little bit of a bid. I guess they're going to refill $1 million worth, or a million. What is it? $1 million barrels? $1 million. 1 million barrels worth of oil. So that was up 31 cents. And oil shorts just licking their chops to short anything, even if it's good news. That's just typical price action for oil. But I think they need, if the bears are going to do something here, they probably need a little bit more flagging here on the 4-hour. I want to see a flush out, like a big one on oil. And every time I think it's going to get big, it stops like just shy of where I would really want it to like absolutely blow the bottom out, and then it just doesn't get there. So it's been tricky, but it should be coming. So we'll see. XLE down 21 cents. XOP, OIH. Yeah, OIH was up yet. Halliburton cut a lot of jobs, so very good job to them. Great work, boys. Up 12% on the day. And yeah, back above the 200 moving average. So there's the weekly. That helps out. Got the dollar here up. Again, higher lows now on the daily. And you got a W here. So that's a good W setup possible. I mean, this might be a little mini V right there too. So dollar looking good. We talked about gold. GDXJ, look at this weekly. That is ugly. Ugly. I mean, if there's a top, if I've ever seen a top, that's a top. I mean, I know the week isn't over yet, but that's ugly. SIL, same look. SILJ there too. Platinum down 7.5. It is bouncing at 15 though, and the 50 MA. So that might catch it. That might get a little bounce tomorrow. You got to be careful with these though; they're so thin. And Palladium might catch a bounce here too at the 20. It went straight into it from an extended move, so that might catch a bid. But if not through that, then yeah, like 1350 to 1300 after that. We got copper here down 8 cents. So that actually, it's down, but it hung in there for the most part. And then lastly, we got Bitcoin here today. Held up pretty well. It was actually nicely green, but it came in. Look where it went. It backed off of the other trend line yesterday. Put in a higher low, then went up to the top one. And now backing off of that. So we'll see what this does here. I don't really have a great... I definitely like how it reclaimed that low and then squeezed up a little bit. We'll just have to wait and see the reaction here. I would be a little neutral on it right now. And you got Ethereum, which was kind of muted today, but then Solana, like, still got those higher lows there. I like that. Like a lot of these alts have that kind of this flush out kind of skews everything, but they're still hanging in there. They're still hanging in there. If they drop from here, though, I would get out of the way of that low. I don't think that low holds very much longer, or at least gets tested and swept. Anyway, so markets, yeah, hanging in there. IWM still kind of weak on the day. That's the weak one here, and it's interesting. The Qs were actually, you got like Broadcom, Micron, AMD, Nvidia, Google down, Apple, Amazon hanging in there. But yeah, like earlier, the IWM had a nice rebound while the Qs were kind of weak. We'll see what happens here. TXN and Netflix after the bell. So I didn't see much there on the Netflix. Maybe like, I know I saw some interest at 1200, but I don't think there's much of an edge there. Could go either way. We'll see if the wokeness pays off. So anyway, we'll see what happens tomorrow. You guys take care. Have a good one. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. We'll see you guys all tomorrow.